On today's show, a lot has been said about the Dallas Mavericks this season, but the players still felt the support from the fans throughout this season and everything they went through after the trade. We'll talk about that and more in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm going to get a city like that.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs,
Great, Wesley.
your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with it, dog blood.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years, right alongside me, the exit exorcist. Well, one more thing, King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Happy Easter.
Belated.
Belated day after Easter.
He was risen indeed.
I do want to shout out people, Locked On Mavs listeners that visited my church here in DFW and all of that, and even a subtexter, Locked On Mavs Insider visiting from Seattle.
The text line
with his wife visiting our church. So it's always fun meeting Mavs fans and listeners. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the bottom of the screen there. At church and stuff. I love it every time. If you ever visit a church, come talk to me. Just don't tell me you like the Mavs pod during communion. Because there's been a handful of y'all that have done that. So I appreciate the love. Thanks for listening.
This is the body that we break.
But let's do this in remembrance of him.
Let's do this in
remembrance
of Luka.
In remembrance of the season. So
we're not, but the Mavs players sure were. They had exit interviews today. We'll talk through some of the things, and one of the main themes going through this was talking about post-trade. How did these players deal with post-trade? We'll hear from PJ Washington, who said, hey, we didn't win the finals last year, so it can get better. We can even be better than we were 2 years ago. Well, let's hear from Max Christie talking about the post-trade cloud. We'll hear from Klay Thompson. Did he regret coming to the Mavericks even after everything? But let's start here, Isaac, because one of the big things I've heard, or at least the thing that I've heard going around different circles and from different podcasts and different fans even, and just even different media outlets all over the place, is that, well, these Mavericks, they've been feeling the fans booing them every single game, and they've just gone through this insane season and blah, blah, blah. And I think there's truth to some of that for sure. They went through an insane season, and it's interesting to hear in each one of these clips you're going to hear from these different players, and they're all each one of these clips is a different player, to hear how they talk about the adversity or the thing that they went through or the stuff. Klay uses the word
Tumultuous. Is that that's I said it right?
He uses tumultuous, which I don't think he said it right. They use that term. It was acknowledged by the players. They didn't just blow it off, say, no, it was just another game, just another season. It is what it was. Now, they talk about the injuries for sure being part of that. But they acknowledge that post-trade, they went through a lot. But then they also acknowledge that the fans were there to support them too, and that they felt that. And Anthony Davis talks about how he felt that. Gafford talks about how he felt that in there. And I think it's important to know that it wasn't just boos all the time. I don't want this season to go by and people just, remember that Mavs season last year, the fans were booing the players all the time. That did not happen.
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, the Luka return game, there was so much emotions in that. Yes, there were chants of stuff during a Max Christie shooting free throws, and you hate that, right? You really do. It sucks for a guy like Max Christie. Like, he didn't do anything, but that was kind of like a one-off thing for the most part. There's a couple fans in there that was trying to be like main character stuff, and but it's like it hasn't been the collective fan base that is just like booing the Mavs as they come on the floor. You can be in the same spot, but in two different spots at the same time of like, hey, we love these guys. Even when they lost against, Memphis the other night, and it's like seeing these guys fight to the end. And you're like, man, it's a fun roster. It's a fun group of guys. And I hate that, like, this season, I hate it for a guy like Klay, it's just all these different guys on the roster and Brandon Williams. And it's like, there's a lot of fun guys to root for. and yet there's been this just cloud over the whole season. And I hate that they had to work through all of that. And it has been a tricky spot for them with fans, because even if fans haven't been booing them, they haven't, you can't say that they've felt the full fan support either this entire season, but it hasn't been their fault.
Yeah, but Gafford acknowledged that the fans, that he felt a weird energy, but he knew that it wasn't about it wasn't about us, the players. And I thought it was interesting to hear a player kind of voice that. So let's hear from Daniel Gafford in exit interviews today.
When it comes to the negativity that came post-trade, how difficult was it just as a player knowing that wasn't a decision y'all made, but you had to deal with that?
Man, it was tough, but I think deep down, like, we know as players that, like, I don't think anybody was, trying to target us, even though at times it felt like it. But we just had to stay strong for ourselves, for the organization, just in general, so we just had to take it one step at a time. I'm pretty sure it was hard for a certain amount of people. But like I said, I mean, it's a business. This is our job. Every day we got to come in and we just have to kind of like follow suit and just be ready for, what happens next, pretty much.
I just thought it was interesting to hear from a player acknowledge that he wasn't talking about injuries. He was specific. You heard the question. He was specifically asked about the trade and the things we went through. He mentioned that, like, everything we went through about the trade and how that was added onto the season and made it tough on players, but they still felt that the fans separated it. That you can hold two thoughts in your mind, like you said. You can still be upset about the trade. We can do the severance thing where you can be upset about the trade, but you can still support the Mavericks on the court. And at least they felt that. And I thought that was significant.
Yeah, it was another example of how another Mavericks player can resonate with the fans better than Nico and Dumont too. So
very true. And Anthony Davis felt the support from fans too, and I thought that was an interesting thing. Let's hear from him. This is after the Grizzlies game, which is basically his exit interview. So let's hear from him about how he felt about this season, basically, and how he would sum it up.
I'm just very appreciative that I get to play the game of basketball. Appreciative to Dallas, and the fan base and my teammates have accepted me and welcomed me with open arms, given the situation. It's part of, basketball. You can't control what goes on. It's our job to play basketball, and I just want to come in and showcase that. The injury happened, and try to do everything I can to get back on the floor to finish the season and try to carry us into the playoffs. So, I'm just appreciative. And obviously it's a lot of emotions that I know is not directed towards me. The city, loved the guy. You get rid of a guy, new guy come in. While yet they, want to embrace you and, thankful for you, still stings, So, I'm just, thankful and appreciative of the city of Dallas and their fans for, welcoming me and my teammates coming in to a situation, Max and I, coming to a situation that a lot of it was just in the unknown, and, guys trying to go out and focus and play basketball and win basketball games. So, obviously it was a tough situation, but I tried to do as much as I can to go out and just when I was on the floor to compete and try to help us win games.
You hear it a couple times in there about how it was a tough situation. Thank you for supporting us in here, but he felt the support, and it is kind of wild that Anthony Davis is probably a top 5 talent that has ever played for the Dallas Mavericks. And I don't know that he'll ever be fully supported or fully embraced by fans because of this, but he acknowledges that. And I think that is a fascinating thing for him to try and embrace as, being a part of this Mavericks organization now.
And what a weird spot all around for him in his career too. I mean, this guy has been a highly touted recruit since, early high school days. Goes to the one and done in Kentucky and has an unbelievable championship run. I mean, some people compare as like, is this the best, one of the best college seasons ever? That one season in college he had, and then obviously he comes to the NBA and stuff. So it's like, did he ever imagine that in his low 30s that he would go to a team and he wouldn't be like always celebrated, or the fan base wouldn't be like collectively happy, not like at him, but it's like because they lost somebody better than him. That part's just crazy. And just how he finished the season, like, even though we disagree with it, I disagree with it. I don't think he should have came back. Still believe that. But the fact that he like fought so hard to come back, and even late into that Memphis game, he's still like not 100%, but he just wants to get out there and just show the fans like, hey, I'm worth believing in and cheering for, and I'm a pretty dang good player too. So he's going to leave it all out on the floor. I think he said almost dang near his approval rating it's such a like thin margin as far as like people. I don't know what to like, how to even like word that, but like he's hit triples and home runs every time that he's like been on a mic of like what you could possibly say in his impossible spot. He's done an incredible job with it. So I hope at some point we can all just like fully embrace Anthony Davis, the basketball player, because he's fun to root for.
Yeah, we gave him so much props after the Memphis game, Slightly and I on the post game, just about how he fought his whole season. The same thing you said, the idea that he came back and didn't have to and all that. And I just think that it's interesting. And I think that like you're right, he's handled this so well. And I kind of wonder if that stretch of the season, that's all folks in New Orleans, where he wore that shirt that said "That's all, folks." He basically wanted out of New Orleans. Clutch and all of them were trying to get him out of New Orleans. He was still on the team, and they were trying to force a trade and all this. So he wasn't embraced by the fans then. He still like hasn't thanked the city of New Orleans. It's become a running joke on like some New Orleans media. I know Ross Jackson, our Locked On Saints guy, always hits home runs when he tweets. This has happened before. The Luka Doncic trade has happened before Anthony Davis thanked the city of New Orleans. And I wonder if going through that in his life prepared him in some kind of weird way to deal with this. Because you're right, he has dealt with this really, really well. And now for the Mavs, and like you said, hopefully they can embrace him at some point. And for fans, it may be time to move on to a certain point. And how can people move on? Well, let's hear from Klay Thompson coming up. Would he regret coming to the Mavericks? And his answer I thought was fascinating. Let's talk about that and hear from him coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by DoorDash. Oh man, it's that time of year where there's just so much going on. There's so many games. I sat on my couch and watched every playoff game on Saturday, just from start to finish. It was absolutely awesome. And I wanted to get some food. I could have gotten DoorDash. Go check out DoorDash. When they swoosh, you score during the playoffs. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members get a 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use that code WINGSTOP50 at checkout. That's Wingstop, all one word, 50, the number 5 and 0 at checkout. That combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, totally free. The Wingstop tenders are amazing. So check it out. You can get it anytime somebody drops 50 in a playoff game. That's awesome. Terms apply on that offer, valid noon to midnight. Here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When a player scores 50 or more in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day with a $20 or more order and code WINGSTOP50. That's Dash Pass. Your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. Dash Pass Wingstop 50 is the promo code.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out this show and, finding us out in the wild. If you can find us IRL, if you can find me IRL, I'll give you a sticker. I have them on me at all times, basically. So if you find me outside in the world, if you find Isaac, he may give you communion. I don't know.
I'll pray for you.
That's right.
As long as you pray for me back.
The laying on of hands. The Mavs did their exit interviews, and the trade just was present in all of this. It's going to be. There's going to keep being things that come out. Nico Harrison is going to speak on Monday. I'll be there. So if you,
me too.
There you go. We'll both be there. So if we'll talk about that and with his answers. I'm sure he'll get asked about it a bunch. He's in front of media. He has not been in front of since the trade actually happened. And so there's going to be cameras and all that. That's going to be interesting. There's also a Tim McMahon piece dropping on Monday about a lot of things that are going to come out. I talked to him on WFAA last night about that, and there's just going to be so many things. So stick with us. We'll break all that stuff down. But there'll be more things that come out from the trade. But in a way, at a certain point, you've got to kind of move on, or at least the Mavs have to move on in some way. And I thought Klay Thompson, after the Grizzlies game, answering the question from Tim McMahon about do you regret your decision now, or would you go back? It's an unfair question from Tim McMahon. It is. I'm going to acknowledge that it is. But it is a fascinating answer from Klay Thompson. It's all the same.
Klay, know what you know now, would you have made the same decision to come to Dallas last summer?
Don't do this to me.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that. That's kind of a ridiculous question because like I don't own a time machine and I don't believe in looking back. If I did that my whole career, I would not be where I'm at, and I wouldn't have been able to persevere through 2 really hard injuries. So I'm here in Dallas, and I enjoyed my time, and I'm looking forward to the future.
He's looking forward to the future, and you don't have a time machine. You can't go back. There is no way. I find it fascinating because honestly, I'm gonna bring up a church analogy. You ready for this? The pastor at the church that I go to was talking about Easter Sunday, resurrection, and all that, and talking about how the things that you're worried about, God may be already working on, and you never know you never know what's in front of you. You can worry about something, or you can try and you can regret something and look back, but you never know. In the case of the religion that Isaac and I profess to, is that God could be working on something in the future for you. For if you don't, it's just you don't know what's happening in front of you. You don't know what's happening that next day, that next step. And so you can't go back and say, well, I could have done this. I could have done this. What good does that do you? Maybe you learn something from it, and maybe you go back and say, all right, I wish I would have handled that better. How can I handle something similar like that going forward? But while you worry about it, God could be working on it, right? And I just think that that's an interesting philosophy from Klay that Pastor Madu, he's got lines. He's got bars. That Klay kind of has that similar mindset in, my life would have been totally different. I may not have worked back from those injuries if I thought that way. And I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, I did find his answer fascinating. I mean, I think you can read into it 2 different ways. I think you can read into it of like, he's like, hey, I'm happy here. You can't go back in time type of thing. I think you can read into it a whole different way of being like, all right, he's like laughing and he's like, kind of like, y'all know the answer to this.
What do you think? Yeah.
So like, why are you asking type of thing? I just, I really enjoy Klay being in Dallas, and super high on, adding him to this, core of playing with Luka and Kyrie and them. And then once that Luka trade happens, I mean, we talked about how much they would match Klay's minutes with Luka.
Yeah.
And then Luka trade happens, and it's just like you couldn't like. I thought about somebody like Klay, who gets wined and dined this past offseason by Nico and them. Come be, like, I mean, what did Nico say? We're a Klay away.
We were a Klay away.
From when, but it's defense wins championships now. But
Explain yourself.
It was last year or 10 months ago. It was, hey, we need more shooting to win a championship. But for Klay, to come in now, it's all changed up. He's finishing the season. Like, it's just so much as like you wouldn't blame him if he was like, hey guys, what you all sold me on isn't really what's playing out right now. So yeah, I feel for him. The past tense, I enjoyed my time in Dallas.
That was fascinating. The way he said that.
If you're like trying to read into things, whatever. I do want to add this small point here. I know we made a joke about McMahon asking the impossible question. I love the Mavs fandom views on McMahon, because it is and this goes for a lot of different things. Take McMahon's name out of it. When reporting happens that we agree with and we like, we're like, man, that dude is trustworthy. He does his job. Whenever it's a reporting that we don't like or we don't agree with, that bum, he doesn't know it. He's making stuff up.
Shill for the organization.
And it just cracked me up so much with McMahon stuff, because it's like, if it's something about Luka, then you hate him. If it's something when he pushes Nico in the secretive, Knights at the Round Table meeting and all that transcript comes out, it's like, dude, look at McMahon pushing him. You called him a shill forever. He's just out here reporting like the real stuff. So anyway, I just want to.
I just don't think people understand. Like, we are sort of we have messed this up for a lot of people, and that we blur the line on what's a reporter and what's like a talking head or an opinion person. And like journalists Tim McMahon will share his, and I guess he does it too, where he'll share what was said, and this is what was said.
Yes.
He has to over and over say, I don't agree with this, but this is what was said. Then he shares his own opinions on what happened, but he's got to tell you what happened first. He's going to report the details. He's going to report the things. And forever we had the reporters who would just say like the Tom Brokaw who would just like say, this is the news, right? And then you'd have the talking heads on like radio who would share, like Rush Limbaugh, who would like share his opinion on everything. And it's been blurred so, I know the examples. It's been blurred so much to where there are people that could do both in a way, right? I mean, we don't report stuff, we share our opinions. But every once in a while we'll have something, but then you have a Tim McMahon who will do both in some way. And I just don't think people can grasp the difference between both of those things.
No, it's a good point because you just don't have too many like sports journalists left. And unfortunately in the business where it's like there's no like fandom attached and there's a lot of relationships and where you're based and all the stuff. And a lot of the stuff that McMahon reported this year, or even in his time, when Luka's time here, there's a lot of those like facts that we had even heard. Like it wasn't like secretive stuff among media that we would talk about this stuff all the time around the court and different stuff, or with Mavs. It's like it was just a matter like McMahon's ESPN, he can report it. We're not going to sit here and like, anyway, this is not our job. It's not what we're going to do. We don't have an editorial staff and all that to try and work through. As the NBA channel manager, I am the editorial staff. Yeah, I'll send an email to my boss.
to your channel manager. That's me. And then our boss above that is the radio voice of the Utah Jazz and host Locked On Jazz, David Locke. So it's like we're all just running around, sharing our opinions, and doing what we do, and I love it, and it's the best. I can't believe I still get to do it, even through this season. I still appreciate that I get to do it. Coming up, there's a way to move on, and how do the Mavs move on and get better in some kind of way? And I think there are two things that Max Christie said and that PJ Washington said. PJ Washington said, "Hey, we didn't win the finals 2 years ago. We can get better." And I think that's fascinating. We'll talk about that and more. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Right now, if you place your first $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Thunder ransacked the Grizzlies today. They were up by 56 at one point. The odds for the Nuggets Clippers is Nuggets minus 138 for the series, okay? Just in reference. Clippers plus 118. So that one's really close, back and forth. You have to bet 138 to win 100 if the Nuggets are going to win that series. Would you like to guess what the odds are on FanDuel right now for the Thunder to win their series?
Minus 800.
Minus 10,000 for the Thunder. You have to bet $10,000 to win 100. That is wild, and that's how much FanDuel sees the Thunder as a favorite in this series. There's all kinds of fun stuff like that. Sometimes I just love going through odds just to see stuff like that where you go, oh my gosh, they think that the Thunder are that much better than the Grizzlies. You have to bet $10,000 to win $100 on that. I love that stuff about FanDuel. You can do all kinds of stuff too. Combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com. Claim your $250 bonus bet today if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Tumultuous. Is that that's I said it right? Thank you. Tumultuous.
Tumultuous summer.
I think he put another L in there somewhere. I still don't think he said it right. Tumultuous. Isn't it tumultuous? But that's what it was. It was a tumultuous season. All right, Isaac. The Mavs have to move on in some way, and I felt that was sort of what was talked about here, is that, all right, the bookend has been put on this season, and now we go into the summer. For fans and for Nico and for all of us, we'll hear from Nico on Monday again, and so it'll all get brought up again. But in some way, this team has to move forward, and I thought that there's one reason I think that they might be better, and PJ Washington talked about it. Let's hear his answer to this question where he said, we didn't win last year, we didn't win the finals. I found it fascinating.
About defense being the focus and the philosophy of that being the force behind the trade. Can you see how things can be better than they were last year?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't win last year. I mean, it's not like we won the finals. At the end of the day,
everybody who's always played basketball knows you have to play defense to win. So at the end of the day, I feel like we can be one of the best defensive teams next year. We have some of the best shot blockers in the game right now, and it makes my job easier, all the guards' job easier, just sending them to guys like that. So we have the sky's the limit for us, and like I said, it's just about building chemistry and just being together.
Well, we didn't win last year. What did you think about him saying that and saying, hey, we could be a better defense and be the number one defense in the NBA, and that's how we move forward and get better as a team?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say I don't think it's any shot at Luka. I think some people try to like tie that of like, oh, you took a shot at Luka, but saying like you got to play defense and like all this stuff. I think he's just answering the question about the priority of it being a defense. Yeah, I mean the finals thing, it's like, hey, we didn't win it. You know, it's like, okay, well, you made it, but still, it's like he's talking about just he's asked a question about the priority of defense and how he thinks they can be a solid defensive team. I also want to say this: he's entering a contract year. Okay. You know who's in charge of giving him a pretty big number? Nico Harrison. So, and you know who is, saying that defense wins championships and all the stuff. I know that if the person that was in charge of handing me probably a new contract that's going to get me around, I don't know, 25, 28 million a year, maybe.
Oh, like your channel manager?
I might be agreeing with him at times and, kind of reinforcing that defensive thing and all the stuff. So I didn't have an issue with the answer and I understood it.
Are your bosses me and Jesus? Is that how this works in your life?
It's kind of, yeah. It's kind of. Jesus is a little bit more forgiving than you, but
he's got worse hair too. I just found it fascinating because that is how they get better. The defense has to get better. It's like, all right, if you're going to try to look forward and try and put all right, how do they move on? And as a team, the players sort of talked about this summer, how do you move on? How do you try to get better? Is that, yeah, you get better by the defense being better. We can be the number one defense. And that's sort of the mindset that these players are going to have going into it. I think another thing that could be better for this team is if eventually the trade cloud, like whatever's looming over this team, eventually that will cease. And Max Christie gave an excellent answer about how that can happen.
You mentioned the phrase, noise or turmoil. I don't know if you got a sense at all that you guys are playing under a cloud of any kind, but what do you think it will take for all that to dissipate?
I think it takes time first and foremost, and I think time heals all. But if we're being honest, I think that maybe that cloud, so to speak, will be there for a relatively long period of time, just because of the magnitude that everything that has happened, within this franchise. So, again, like I said earlier, for us as players, we got to be able to focus on what's most important, which is the game. And I think what'll heal that is not only time, but winning, obviously, is going to heal that as well. And so that's our job as players. That's our job as a franchise, as players, coaching staff, front office. That's our job to put all of us in the best position to be able to do that. And that's always the end goal for any NBA team, and especially for us, especially this, next upcoming season. I think we're in a prime position to be able to try and, attain that goal for us.
In all these, I just think it's fascinating to hear them talk about how it was. He literally agreed that it was a cloud that hung over this team, and talking about how a trade affected them. I've never heard players talk about a trade and the stuff happening around a trade in this way.
No. You go back to what Gafford, saying is like, hey, it's a business. Like, we understand it's a business. We've heard that forever. We've been in this 10 years now. So it's like, we've heard this by multiple different players, both role players and star players. Of like, hey, it's a business. But this was like a whole different ball game. Like, it's something like, obviously it affects the whole fan base and just everything. So this is something you've really not seen before much. So yeah, it's a new situation for everybody, not just the fans, but the players too. And that's why you've tried to, as much as you try to separate, players from front office and all that stuff. What a weird Max Christie going from playing, in Los Angeles to this situation in Dallas, in which, there's chance in your home arena for and all this stuff while you're shooting free throws. So it's weird.
Would you say the season was
tumultuous?
I think it's funny that he used that word multiple times, because obviously Nico was talking about we were headed to a tumultuous summer.
Oh, he did that exact wording.
with the Luka stuff, and it turned into a whole season. And so as he was looking at this tumultuous summer, it's like, oh well, he actually had a tumultuous season. So
a season that could be
tumultuous.
He adds another L in there, tumultuous. And now we try to move forward in some way. So we'll talk.
I mean, really though? I mean, no, we're not gonna move forward after tomorrow. I mean, it's another layer in this. As much as people keep talking, and this is what we've talked about before. If this Dallas media thing, if Nico would have talked to all Dallas media
right
way before this, then we're not having this again. Like, but this keeps on going because you keep on delaying things and you make the wrong decision. Like,
he should have just sat there and took all the questions like the day or two after the trade back in Dallas. Yeah. All right, do the player,
get the AD intros and all that stuff out of the way. Come back the next day. We're gonna hold this press. I'm gonna take every question that y'all have,
or even do his first and then do the players one like later, even after they've played a game. What? Who cares? Like, do that, and then you don't have to make the players. Then all right, all the stuff has been said, and now let's hear from the players and welcome them to Dallas, even though they've maybe played a game or something. It is wild, but hey, we're gonna do it. We'll have shows tomorrow talking about how everything played out. We'll be there. Let us know in the comment section or on our text line what question you would want to ask Nico Harrison. What question has he not answered? Let us know on that. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back with more. Subscribe to the newsletter, lockedondaily.com, free in your inbox every single day.
Peace out.